have been with the bank for a little over 2 years. So I have also worked with small businesses and things. So yeah, we're excited to talk to you guys today about pivoting a small business. Do I need to? Okay. All right. So I think that we all were, impacted by things like coronavirus, where lots of small businesses were impacted during that time. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to adapt to change and like figure out how to rebuild and thrive after things disrupt your business in that way. And, since the world can always change overnight, and present a new normal, it helps to be as prepared as possible in unexpected events.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about how to pivot your business in an instant.
We're going to fix this for you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. You're good. So we'll talk about how to pivot your business in an instant, how to keep your business moving and network on social media, and how to access government or local relief programs in case of unexpected events and natural disasters and things like that. All right, while they're trying to get our PowerPoint back up, which is totally fine, we'll just start with how to pivot your business in an instant. Considering how the world can change overnight, presenting a new normal, it helps to be as prepared as possible and be ready to switch gears if necessary. Okay. All right. So, as many of you may know, and is it Marcella? Is that your name? Marisa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marisa.
Okay. So, starting and owning your own business is expensive. So there's rent, labor, insurance, all of that adds up. And in times of economic uncertainty, cutting back is likely high on your to-do list. So can you cut back without cutting back your essential services? So that's something you want to ask yourself when you start thinking about cutting back. Cutting employees might seem like a good way to trim your costs, but laying off staff comes with its own set of problems. Like a possibility of reduced productivity, loss of morale, loss of operational knowledge, and potentially a loss of customers. So I think, okay, all right, you're okay. All right, so business owners often say that their most valuable asset is their employees, and most of them mean it. So if that is true, what makes the most sense right now is retaining that asset and getting creative by cutting elsewhere and in unexpected places. So here's 3 ways to possibly cut back without gutting your business and laying off staff. So you can reduce hours and adjust schedules. So for example, in Portland, Oregon, there was a small retail store. When the Great Recession hit in 2008, business fell off a cliff and the owners were faced with tough choices: close or fire almost everyone. And in the end, they did neither. Instead, for the next few years, the store went into a shortened schedule, staying open only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. It wasn't ideal, but no one was let go, and the store eventually came back stronger than ever. So one way to lower payroll costs is simply reducing hours. Offering full-time employees a part-time position is a win-win for everyone when the alternative is not having a job at all. Most people would rather work with their employer than lose all of their income. So for you, it provides your business full coverage, though with a reduced staff for a part-time budget. Ultimately, this method also provides that your seasoned staff members can have job security and your customers can have the service you're committed to. Another method for reducing costs is optimization of business hours. If you're open 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, you might not be using your time and money wisely. Instead, having a smaller staff for slower days and a full staff for the busier times. If some days are not profitable at all, do what the retail store did and consider closing those days. The second option is improving operational efficiency. So to consider how your business can be more cost-effective while maintaining or even improving its efficiency. This can look a few different ways. For one, you should call suppliers and renegotiate your contracts, looking to pay less for your supplies. No doubt that today vendors will be willing to have that conversation. The coronavirus is an opportunity for your business to be hyper-vigilant in its own practices. In tough times, a little goes a long way, and either renegotiating with your suppliers or reforming in-house policies and behavior can save costs in the long term. And then lastly, just think differently. It's time to get creative. It's time to get out of the box. Instead of continuing to use that high-priced marketing consultant, consider bringing marketing and advertising in-house. Find out who on your team best knows social media and unleash their creative powers. This option could cut costs while still providing your business some much-needed marketing muscle. Or what about that basement space you're using to store old items? Instead of letting that space go to waste, perhaps try to clean it and sublet it out to another business who could use the discounted space. Remember that at each new crisis will end at some point, and when it does, it will help if you have the right people and practices already in place.
Go to the next one.
This one?
Yeah. Do you want to do one?
Okay. You're doing that great.
All right. So another important part of making sure that you can weather those storms of unexpected events is establishing a small business emergency fund. So by now, more than a few businesses have realized that they need an emergency fund. The pandemic quickly caught businesses off guard. A fortunate few had the type of business that was not affected by shelter-in-place orders, but many others were hit hard by the double whammy of lost business and a lack of a rainy day fund. So it's time to rectify that second issue. According to the Sure Payroll Small Business Worry Index, due to the nature of small businesses, it can be hard to ensure there's enough cash on hand for business expenses and payroll. One finding from the study showed that 1 in 4 small business owners worry about being able to cover payroll at some point in the year. All of which begs the question, how do you create a rainy day fund and how much do you need? It's really a step process. So step 1 is to analyze your core expenses. Make a list of expenses that you have to cover every month. Things like payroll, rent, taxes, insurance, utilities. Other items, the ones that are more wants than needs, should not be on this list. That would include things like marketing and entertainment. And then you're going to take that number and you're going to multiply it by 3. That's the number of months of overhead you'll ideally or eventually set aside. If your core expenses are $5,000, you'll need to begin to save $15,000. Step 2 is to chunk it down. If you look at the $15,000 by itself, it will look like an insurmountable mountain. But guess what? No one climbs a mountain in one step. Mountain climbers chunk it down. I've always liked to say that, have you ever heard the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what we always said in my family anyway. There are several steps to take when you're planning to climb a mountain. 3 of the 4 are relevant to our analogy here. So first, you're going to get a guide, but we'll talk about that in step 3. You're going to start training. This is as essential in mountain climbing as it is in saving. For many people, saving doesn't come naturally. Neither does mountain climbing. The only way to climb that mountain is to begin small in practice and get in shape. Start saving small, but get in the habit. And then choose a route. There are several routes to get on top of a mountain. Some are easier than others. It begins by planning the trip, picking out a base camp, and plotting the rest of the areas and important markers along the way. Again, this is the same process for creating a rainy day emergency fund. Pick a reasonable path and start climbing. So step 3 is to get help. Making and hitting financial goals can be challenging, and that's why bringing in an accountant or financial advisor makes sense. Or even someone like a small business banker that can help you start those first steps. Meeting with your financial advisor can help you understand how best to begin, where you can safely cut back, and how to save, and it will help you ensure that you're saving the right amount. And having an advisor who understands the finances of your business can also help when you do have an emergency down the road. An expert teammate can give you expert advice. And step 4 is just to commit. The key here is to save a bit each month. That takes good old-fashioned commitment. Consider the wise words of W.H. Murray. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. The moment one definitely commits oneself, the providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. So in the end, by committing to this plan, not only will you have learned a new skill, which is how to save, but you cannot be caught off guard the next time your small business faces an emergency situation. All right, so for businesses of all sizes, but especially for small businesses without large cash cushions, the impact of a major crisis is enormous. It affects cash flow, sales, jobs, and business survival rates. As a small business owner, I know how, where, and when I can communicate with my clients during a crisis, or I know that how, when, and where I communicate with my clients during a crisis will greatly influence how my business will fare during the crisis and when it is over. So take a moment to go over this small business crisis communications list to help your business remain healthy if you face lean times. So we are here. You need to let your customers know that you are still running your business and making every effort to keep your services and products available in any way you can. You cannot assume your customers know you're still operating, even in a diminished capacity. So make sure you tell them right away what you're currently offering and that you're working on a longer-term game plan. Emailing your customer list is likely the quickest and easiest option. If you send out a regular e-newsletter, include your message in there as well. If you're going on hiatus, what if your business is closing temporarily? Some businesses will have no choice but to close their doors. I've gotten a lot of emails from retailers announcing they're closing for several weeks. All have mentioned their websites are still operating, and many have eliminated or reduced shipping fees. If you're in retail, now's the time to ramp up your e-commerce business, and email marketing again seems like the fastest way to spread the word. Also, consider social commerce, selling via your social media channels. Many of the small business owners we're speaking to today probably use a lot of social media to get their. Do you use social media a lot? Yeah. I also have a small Etsy shop, but I used to do a lot more actually back during when everything was closed down during COVID. I did a lot more with my maker stuff, and that's how I sold a lot of things, was through social media rather than like an Etsy platform that takes a lot of those extra fees and things. So what should be on your website? Where are your clients going to check first for information about your business? If you said your website, you're right. And so you should have already posted information about any changes to the business, such as new store hours, delayed deliveries, and the best way to reach you. It's also a good idea to acknowledge the crisis, offer advice, and words of comfort. To be really helpful, post links to resources for more information on the crisis. And then email to stay in touch. After an initial outreach to your customers, it's imperative that you keep the lines of communication open. If you've been communicating primarily by email, continue to use that channel. If you're open for business, whether you're selling products online, meeting with clients via telecommunication tools, or selling food via takeout or delivery, consider emailing your customers and clients weekly. Customers will be bargain-minded, so offer incentives and promotions to persuade them to buy. Many people are encouraging consumers to help out local businesses by buying gift cards for now for use later. This gives the businesses an influx of cash, so make sure you offer gift cards and visibly promote them. Think about what your customers want to hear from you. In addition to discounts and other promotions, can you offer information to help them get through the next few weeks or months? My hairdresser already texted me instructions on the right way to trim my own bangs. Depending on the type of business you operate, consider offering relevant tips, such as how to be productive working from home, tech tools, ways to entertain the kids while you work, best music or movies to help pass the time, favorite recipes and exercises, etc. Consumers are stressed right now and would welcome hearing a familiar business owner once or twice a month. And make sure you let your customers know that when you might be open for business again. When my dentist called to cancel my upcoming appointment, they rebooked me from a month from now, but added they'll be in touch for regular updates. You want to start a dialogue on social media? So isolated customers will be turning to social media for news and to make social connections. Start with the social platforms you already use to engage your clients and customers, but explore other social channels to find out where the conversations are. Ask open-ended questions to get a conversation going, and make sure you answer questions customers have for you. And lastly, you want to get creative. Now may be a good time to try communications channels you haven't used before. Consider live streaming to show customers how to use your products, starting a podcast, or beefing up your YouTube channel. What about holding virtual meetings with your clients over video chat, especially if your customers want face-to-face interactions? Or if you need to show charts or other visuals, consider hosting webinars so you can interact with many of your clients at one time. How are you planning on keeping communication going in case of an emergency, like a global pandemic? All right, you can go ahead. So next we're going to talk about how to keep your business moving and network on social media. Social media has become all the more important for small businesses as a way to stay connected with customers and keep cash flow moving while people are staying home, working from home, or getting back out in the workforce. During uncertain or challenging times, you can go to the next one. Small businesses need to adapt and find innovative ways to keep moving forward. The focus should be on finding alternative methods to connect with customers and maintain a strong presence in the market. So here are some questions to consider. How can you include remote or digital platforms in your sales or marketing strategies? How can you maintain a consistent customer experience regardless of your venue? How can you stay on top of mind for your buyers without relying solely on discounts and coupons? With people increasingly using digital platforms like YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and other outlets, how can you reach your audience effectively? How can you collect and utilize your customers' email addresses to maintain communication? In times of uncertainty, it's essential to embrace change and look for new opportunities. Rather than longing for the past, focus on creating a new normal that allows your business to thrive in a current landscape. To gain the attention of potential customers, consider the following. Share educational or how-to content related to your products or services. Create personable content by showcasing your business and how you're serving customers. Reinforce the identity of the people you serve and help them feel like they belong to your community. Avoiding a single point of failure in the way you reach, engage, and retain customers increases your ability to pivot when uncertainty or disruptions interfere. This means connecting with people through various digital tools and keeping customers engaged between purchase opportunities. The new rhythm of business involves staying connected, showing support for the community, and being more personable and present. Focus on improving your sales and delivery processes, adjusting any face-to-face aspects of your business, and using digital tools to showcase a human side to your customers. By offering a connected experience that aligns with your views and values and maintaining clear communication throughout the process, you can keep your business moving forward during tough times. And lastly, we're going to talk about how you can access government or local relief programs. When an unpredictable event threatens your business's finances, it helps to know where you can turn for help if you need it. Okay. Assistance options and programs do change. Don't forget to continue to look for support. Here are a few good resources to keep an eye on. SBA.gov is a great resource for small businesses. You'll find updates to any government assistance programs like the Paycheck Protection Program, as well as any other guidance and resources when dealing with the impact of coronavirus. But there's also much more out there, like free business counseling resources, education and information on SBA guaranteed business loans, home and business disaster loans, and federal government contracting. Also, online resources such as Bank of America's Small Business Resources website offer a wealth of information on these topics. In addition, there are many articles, infographics, quizzes, videos, and personal finance information on Bank of America's Better Money Habits website. This is a great resource for finding answers to specific questions or for building your general knowledge. All right, so there's a lot of funding options for minority small businesses as well. So for minority entrepreneurs looking to start a business or otherwise get help for a business they are already run, there are a number of options for financial help. There are many loans and grants available allocated for minority-owned businesses, from the government to banks to nonprofits and more. But where do you get started? To help, here's some of the best options. These links will be available in the PowerPoint. I think they're going to send that out to all of you. So there's the Minority Business Development Agency. It's part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and it seeks to provide aid to minority-owned businesses to help them grow. The agency provides a variety of financing options for minorities, such as grants, access to venture capital, specifically geared toward minority-owned businesses. The MBDA also has an MBDA business centers across the country, which provide financial advice for businesses, how to secure loans, get contracts, and more. you can find an MBDA business center in your area at, I think that is the link to the website. If these websites are not provided in the presentation, then I'll have Deanna email me and I'll send them all to you guys, or send them to her for her to send out. So there's community development financial institutions. The CDFI fund awards money to historically underrepresented communities and organizations in order to foster minority entrepreneurship, including ones that are supported by Bank of America. The biggest contributor to CDFIs in the U.S. is Bank of America, with more than $1.6 billion in loans and investments to more than 250 CDFIs. Bank of America supports local economies by partnering with community development financial institutions across the U.S., Puerto Rico, and District of Columbia. The Small Business Administration, or SBA, is a federal government agency and another great resource for minorities to receive funding, as it is the biggest loan grantor in America. The SBA does not make loans. It guarantees loans made by private institutions. BOA is an SBA preferred lender. There are many SBA-backed loan options ranging from $500 to more than $5 million. While most SBA loans are not intended specifically for minority entrepreneurs, the Community Advantage Loan Program offers loans up to $250,000 for businesses in historically underserved markets. In addition, the SBA also provides specific resources for minority-owned businesses with the Business Development Program. This program offers minority-owned businesses opportunities to receive government contracts, as well as offering financial information and workshops to said business owners. There are local funding options. One of the best resources may actually be in your own backyard. Funding is often available from regionally based organizations specifically geared toward minority business owners. This includes opportunities provided by your local or state governments and also local credit unions and banks. Have you heard of any Kansas City business help, like small business help? If I can find any of that information, I'll also send that to Deanna for you. And then grants.gov. While looking for state-based grants and loans largely depends on what's happening locally, the best place to look for a federal grant is through grants.gov. Grants.gov has thousands of grants that may be beneficial to your business. Grants are provided to businesses who can aid the government in projects to provide public services and stimulate the economy. Action is a nonprofit that offers loans to low to moderate income businesses that usually don't qualify for traditional lending. As such, it can be a good option for minority business owners and new entrepreneurs. It has offices in 50 states, offering loans from $200 up to $300,000. So yes, there are many options out there for minority-owned businesses to get the money it needs. This list is a great starting place for your search. And then there's access to capital directories. So you need capital for your business to grow and prosper. In the last few years, a variety of new resources of funding have sprung up, many supporting Black, women, and Hispanic Latino entrepreneurs. Funding found in the Bank of America Access to Capital Directory includes community development financial institutions, venture capital and angel investors, and grants, and more.
that you're doing. What you think like your steps are, like what you're doing towards them.
Do you-
I would say getting more freelance work and taking a second look at my budget.
Mhm.
See if there's anything I can trim down expense-wise.
Yeah. Do you currently have a business bank account, or are you using a personal? You have a business? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've had my LLC now for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I technically have an LLC taxed as an S corporation.
Okay.
So even though I'm
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was 23 when I started, and I
Yeah.
don't know how I look back. I'm like, how did you do that?
I do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad I'm here now. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Mm.
That's all.
I heard
Do you have anything to add?
I heard you need 2 years worth of credit, 2 years worth of established business to get credit. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, with Bank of America, yes. But I mean, it also depends on like maybe you've had your business, but you haven't had it like established in like an LLC with Bank of America. Our business banker can, take a look at that and see, where we can go with that. Also, your revenue.
So this is where probably I would probably want to choose a grant when it comes to that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially for like capital expenses. Yeah.
Do you recommend as soon as I start my business to start building some type of credit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. When you start your
Um,
business, you always want to, because you always want to, keep that cash flow, going.
And if you think about, like, say there's a contracting business, it makes sense to have a credit card to be able to buy all of your materials, because people aren't always going to be able to pay you up front, or maybe
Right.
you're, it may be less professional to be like, okay,
Mhm.
well, I'm going to need you to pay me before I do the work, right?
Right.
Or even things like I did like a lot of crochet stuff, and so maybe I needed materials to crochet some large project, and so I'd have to be like, hey, can you go ahead and pay me half up front? It's better to have a credit card open that you can go ahead and buy those materials that you need,
Mhm.
and then pay it off when the customer pays you.
Yes.
And that's a great way to start building credit for a business, I think. So
Mhm. Yep.
So you
Anything
do
else?
crochet.
I crochet. I did a lot. I have a laser. I have
Cool.
like a
But do you have
silhouette.
an LLC?
I do not.
Darn.
So I also sell, but right now
We'll
I
get you
mostly
one.
I have an Etsy that I just sell like files on and some stickers, because it's very like passive.
Let me give you my business card.
It's very passive income for me, so it doesn't generate a lot of income, but it's just a little something I like to do on the side. So
Nice.
yeah.
But when clients do
I used
say
to do a
that,
lot more.
and they just say, "Oh, I just like to do it on the side," that is where it can become an LLC. It can become your business, right? Because, I mean, who's to say that you don't blow up and get big and have your own shop or
Me. I'm to say I'm not. I don't have time. I have 3 kids.
uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to eventually
one
grow
step
that
at a- it's
business.
one
It is
step at
one
a
step
time.
at a time. It's just, like I know now is not the right time. But I do, I love going through these presentations and all the Better Money Habits website stuff,
Mhm.
because it gives me ideas for the future. Like I know that that's something I want to do in the future. It's just maybe not achievable right now,
Mhm.
and that's okay. It's okay to be in the planning stages for a little while too, I think.
So do you recommend going to your local bank and getting advice on how to even start and what it even else is?
Yes.
Yes, I think
Mhm.
most banks are going to have a small business specialist.
Mhm.
At least I know Bank of America does. I'm not
Mhm.
super sure about other banks, but I think that if you even just going and sitting down with a banker, it doesn't mean you have to open an account or
Mhm.
open a credit card or anything. if you just need the advice, if you just want the information, we have
Mhm.
resources and stuff available to you.
Yeah.
And not everybody understands what the LLC is.
Right.
Right.
You know, yeah, an LLC versus a
Mhm.
corporation versus,
A sole
Yeah.
proprietor. Yep.
yeah, a sole
Yeah.
proprietor, things like that. So,
As a senior banker, you know, I will help them, and I'll help them, you know, make a recommendation. Like Emily here, maybe she doesn't need an LLC. Maybe she just needs a sole proprietor, you know, and so we would talk about that type of business, right? And you also want to, you know, keep your personal finances separate from, you know, your business.
especially for tax purposes.
Yeah,
When I
tax
did a lot more
purposes.
business,
Mhm.
it was a lot more important. I did
Yeah.
have a separate account
Right.
because it was a lot more important to track all of those.
Yeah. Mhm.
And when I did a lot more making, I was also running an in-home daycare. So I had
Mhm.
that business as well. And so I had a separate account for all of those funds so that I
Yeah.
could deal with my taxes, and track my income versus expenses and all of that.
Yeah.
Because as a small business owner, you're going to be taxed a little bit higher because a lot of large corporations cover some of your taxes, right?
Mhm.
So small businesses, so you have to keep track of every expense specifically related to your business. So when I was running my daycare, I could deduct a lot of things from my income as an expense. And it was based on a time space percentage based on how much time and how much space of my home I used to use these items. So even things like for that particular business, if I bought toys for my children, if the daycare children played with them, I could claim that time space percentage on the expenses. And that was a really good way to cut down on tax costs and things like that, was just even things like paper towels and toilet paper. Those are
Yeah.
things that I used for my business
Yeah.
because it was an in-home daycare. So I need to track every single one of those expenses and keep every single one of those receipts so that I can sit down at the first of the year, the
Yeah.
next year, and track all of that and take that away so that I'm paying a lot less in taxes, because
Mhm.
taxes, I think, are something that hit small businesses that they don't account for.
Mhm.
And that can be a huge expense that you
Mhm.
weren't prepared for.
Do you know if Bank of America offers some type of way of tracking your expenses?
Yes. Yeah. So when Bank of America has partners, ADP, merchant, a small business banker, senior banker, and it's all, all your resources are there to help you grow your business, to help you. So like at the end, right, at the end of the year, Emily's, she's still running her business, but now she has to do all this taxes and get all this, the statements for the whole year. Well, when Bank of America can relieve some of that from her, we have a ADP specialist that can help her with that. And,
Like
payroll, they can help her with payroll, they can help her with taxes, they can help her, like, say, her business grows and she has more kids and then she has to hire help. They will help her find employees, and they have like a handbook that it's endless.
They have a lot of
They have a
resources,
lot
yeah.
of resources that can help her. I think one thing that small business owners kind of forget or don't really, that I see, is they don't know how to pay themselves.
Yes.
I feel like that happens quite often. And, it's their business. So they're like, oh, I'm making this much money, right? But, you have to separate it, and you have to have like an individual, like a checking a payroll account where you're, moving that money over and you're paying yourself. I don't know. I just see that a lot.
I see that a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they don't know like what percentage to start off with, and that's again where ADP comes in and would help you with that.
Yeah. Or even like I've seen a lot of like lawn care companies or something like that. They'll come in with a stack of checks, and half of them are made out to the business, and half of them are made out to
Yeah.
personal.
Mhm.
So you have to be able, like you have to look at that and be like, okay, I need all of my clients to make it out to the business
Mhm.
so that I can pay my business, and then take portions of that to pay myself, portions of that to pay my expenses,
Mhm.
all that.
And I think it's also being consistent,
Mhm.
that what they said in there earlier.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You said that ADP can help with that?
Yeah.
What is
So do you bank with Bank of America? Okay, it's just a partner that we partner with, ADP.
They're a
That
third party though,
Yeah.
so you can look
Mhm.
it up online. They do. They just have like they, and
Yeah.
you may not be able to use them immediately, but like I know our ADP rep loves working with smaller businesses because he knows that if he builds a relationship with you now, when you do have a need in the future, you're going to reach out to him.
Mhm.
And so they're more than willing to speak to you, even if you don't have employees or you don't have some of the, like maybe the extra capital right now. They'd be more than happy to speak with you.
So I think ADP takes care of payroll,
Payroll.
and like W-2s, 1040s, anything that you need to provide
Yeah.
to your associates. ADP is a contracting company that comes in and does payrolls, essentially. Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
But they were telling me last time our ADP rep was in, they were telling me they have a lot of other resources for small businesses too.
Yeah.
So it's worth checking it out
Yeah.
and speaking to someone for sure.
Thank you. They're solely based on all business.
You're good. We good? Okay. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
coming and thank you for listening.
Yeah.
So.